Welcome to Mark Ellis Realtor Unplugged. I'm here today with Shawne Schultz from Sign & Monahan. How you doing today, Shawne?
I'm good, Mark. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty sure I invited myself, but hey, here we are.
Hey, that's all right. I think it's good for agents to collaborate with each other, and I'm excited to have you here. I've been admiring you from afar and the work that you've done in real estate, and it's been phenomenal. So I'm happy we could have this conversation
And
today.
likewise, I've followed you for quite some time, and we did a great deal together, and just learned a lot from you actually on that particular deal. But
Yeah.
I see the direction you guys are going here, and just this podcast room. I'm not sure blue, accents me the best, but that could all be adjusted in time.
Absolutely. We can make it whatever color
But
you want.
I've always looked up to you and your colleagues, and there's very, very few realtors that I actually follow and pay attention to what they're doing.
Sure.
Don't blush, but you're one of them.
I appreciate that, and it's vice versa to you too. It's very rare in this business that I find someone with the level of dedication to providing a luxury real estate experience for their client, and I think that's something that you do very well. I know the deal we had together, we were both kind of fighting tooth and nail for both of our clients, but with the end goal of let's get this thing to the closing table, right?
We had some sweaty moments, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The same goal in mind. She wanted to sell her house. Your client wanted to buy that house.
Absolutely.
We had to come together with different terms that at first weren't on the table, and, you made it work.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I wanted my guy to get the house, right? And you wanted your lady to sell it. So I'm glad that worked out. What would you say, I've seen you had a lot of success, most especially the last couple of years. What would you say is one of your biggest contributing factors to that?
Consistency. I think one thing about real estate that I learned real quick, and even in my former business, which I was always, customer service, much like you, though, my former business as a McDonald's franchise owner operator, they came to me.
Yep.
Much like with your cars,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
They came to you.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, but I think bringing the same, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So I am obsessed with making them happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very happy. So I think in consistency and just being, yourself, your authentic self, no wishy-washy.
Absolutely.
But I am going to do the very best job I can for you.
Yeah. And it shows.
Whatever that looks like to whatever client it is, whatever their specific, wants are.
Yeah.
But
I see you're also kind of getting into that flipping of homes. How do you like that so far? How's that going?
I just looked up. I just actually looked up your Ross Common one. That was one we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a nice job with that one.
Yeah, you did good on the
I
one you did by
liked it.
Selfridge too. I was watching you kind of post the
Yeah,
pictures.
it's under
and
contract,
Yeah.
and the
Good.
appraisal came through, so I'm pretty
that's always
pumped
good.
about that.
That's always good.
I do enjoy designing, and you and I being in the market, we know market values.
Absolutely.
When we can get a home to its full potential.
Yeah.
And focusing on location.
Sure.
We all know that matters. So I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Good.
In fact, I'm looking for my next one.
Well, we always are, right?
Yeah.
I like the I guess the fit and finishes that you did on that one. I like the white oak flooring. I like the the different color cabinets in the kitchen. Everyone's doing gray, right? Gray walls, gray floor, gray this, gray that. And I like that you did make it a little bit different, made it stand out in the market with the, fresh look of the white oak.
Right.
And white oak is just so timeless. You know what I mean?
It is. I noticed you had the same floor
Of
that
course.
I did. And I actually used the first time in my first investment property the black cabinetry too, with the wood accents, and that was just a hit.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that, and I think you have, look what he's wearing, and then look at me, impeccable taste. So I believe you bring that to the table for your clients too.
Sure.
As far as when you're going through homes, and some people just don't have that vision where you're in a property, it's the right location for your client, that it's the right school district, this is exactly where they want to be, but something's just not cosmetically hitting them.
Absolutely.
And having a vision, almost, we're interior decorators. No degree, I'm not claiming that.
Sure.
But being able to say, running cohesive flooring through here, you can get it for $2.56 a foot. And, that will change the whole dynamic look of the house. And then your client's like, oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Or that bright orange wall, that's just a simple coat of Greek villa and
yeah,
change the look. But don't get rid of this perfect the property, everything else fits. And I think that's important, is having, again, solution for...
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. We are very solution-driven realtors in the fact that I try right from the very beginning to find out what are my clients' needs, right? How can I help them achieve their goal, whatever their goal may be? And sometimes it's hilarious. In fact, the house that you and I sold together, the guy said, I don't want to live that far north. And I said, well, let's just go look at it. I think this is the house that you should look at. It doesn't cost you anything to look, right? Of course, we took him through it and he fell in love with it.
Right.
So often, people say, well, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be there. And you have to listen, but you also have to know what your client's needs are. And if the house fits their needs, sometimes they just need to picture themselves and envision themselves inside that property.
Right.
So I think that you do a really good job of that as well. One thing I wanted to talk about is your property that you have under contract now, the flip house. Did you have multiple offers on that property?
I did.
You did. And what was your determining factor in picking the offer you did for that property? Was it price? Was it the agent? Was it the terms?
I'm the other agent too.
You're the other agent too. Okay. Well, there you go. Okay.
So, well, I don't want to get too off course here. In fact, I just saw and I try not to read into a lot of, things people put out there on social media, but I'm not going to say who, I'm sure they'll probably figure it out, but, more old school agent that said the post was something along the lines of, I don't do TikToks, I don't do videos, I just grind. And my initial reaction was, I do all three.
Yeah.
And point in case, it was my own personal page posting on that flip that generated a call from a friend of mine that said, I want that house. And being as I owned it too, I have a lot to factor in. So I'm not just the seller. I'm presenting to myself what is the best fit. And it was a conventional buyer. And I knew if he had to, he could pay cash.
Sure.
So that was kind of an easy one. But my first one, kind of the same thing. It was before a market, but I did work with another agent. So,
okay.
But,
I think it's important to have relationships with other agents within the marketplace. And
Absolutely.
I think that's why we're doing this right now. Very unheard of for two agents working at two different brokerages to come together and sit down and have a conversation like this. So I appreciate you coming first and foremost.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think when I'm in a multiple offer situation, for example, there's a lot of things that I take into consideration. Obviously, my job is to present every offer to my seller, and I will do that. And I will, basically break it down on a spreadsheet. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly of this offer so that they can make an educated decision on what they want to do. But another piece of that is the agent, right?
100%.
Right? Like
you and I have talked about that.
Who submitted the offer?
Right.
Is it an agent that I know the deal's going to close with? Is it an agent that I've had issues with in the past? Is it an agent that is not going to call me back? Communication is so big in this business. Is it an agent that hasn't set the correct expectation with their client up front on how things are going to go? And so for me, that is almost as important as the offer itself. What agent submitted
100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I have, of course, ultimately it's our seller's choice, correct? But I have explained, look, I've worked with Mark Ellis 4 or 5 times, and there are problems that arrive. There's a lot of components involved in a real estate transaction behind the scenes that the sellers, they don't even realize half the time.
Absolutely.
And I will be very transparent. I know he's going to get this closed.
Yeah.
And if a problem arises, which they do, he's going to either have the solution or he is going to find the solution.
Yeah.
Now, I have this other person from XYZ Realty. I looked up her, what she's done. This is a part-time job for her, so she's not going to answer my call between 9 and 5 because she's teaching a class. So I do absolutely factor in, and are they going to be willing to work with me in an appraisal situation? What's your relationship with that client? And I know agents that have that mentality.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've not been around as long as you, but it didn't take me very long to figure out, wow, I've called this lady 20 times. She hasn't called me back.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh yeah.
Turns out it hadn't even been turned into the lender. And so that was a learning experience. So I feel like on the other side, the agent is an important part. I think you actually told me there's like a percentage of 80%.
20% of the agents do 80% of the business.
And yes. And I can absolutely see why.
Yeah. And I think you and I are very solution driven in that, in that aspect of things. I do remember a scenario where we had a few hurdles in the deal that you and I were working on. And
a few?
Oh yeah, well, just a couple. But the thing about it was that the clients never knew. I never went to my client and said, hey, I just jumped over this hurdle for you and resolved this problem. Or, even at the end, I didn't go to the client and say, hey, by the way, look at everything that I've done for you. I just said, hey, here's your keys. He had a really great experience. He and his family had a great experience. Your seller and their family had a great experience selling the property. And that's our job, right? Right. Our job is to create a luxury home buying experience, whether you're buying a $100,000 property or a $5 million property.
Absolutely.
I'm going to treat you exactly the same. And I know you do the same, the same thing as well.
Always.
One question I did have for you, though, because I don't think I've ever got the answer to this is, of course, I know your family, I know your sister and all those guys. But what made you get into real estate? I mean, coming from McDonald's, totally different, into this business. I came from car sales, so this was a natural progression. But for you, to go from like McDonald's ownership to real estate, how did you get into this?
Well, I did go through a divorce, so I mean that's transparent. So anyway,
I don't know if that's congratulations or sorry to hear that.
I'm very. We still talk, but at the end of the day, he was the generational operator. Okay. So it just made sense for me to just back out. I was bought out of those stores, and then I had a baby at 40. It is what it is. So I did take some time.
Yeah.
And step back. But at the same time, I'm 39 years old, retired.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Sure.
And at the rate I was spending money, I did all the math and accumulated it. So I'm going to be broke by the time I'm 70.
Yeah.
Because I have nothing to do but spend money.
Yeah.
And I enjoy working. I had a paper route when I was 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
So you ask a young generation, they're like, what? Yeah, I threw papers at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So long story short, it was my sister. I said, I want to find something that I have a little bit of freedom and that what do you think I'd be good? I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was April Bynum. She's a lender.
Yeah.
And she's been hounding me for years.
Yeah.
Shawne, you know so many people. They trust you. You've had all these customers over the years. Mm-hmm. You'd be great in it.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to start investing too. So originally it was just to kind of do my own thing.
Sure.
The flips, that was the original goal. And then I just got sucked in.
Yeah. This business has a way of doing that to you.
It did.
I got licensed originally when I was at the dealership, 2013, and then and I got licensed purely just to do flips. I didn't want to pay commission to a realtor, so I thought, hey, I'll get licensed and be able to save a little bit on flips. And then I started doing it, and I'm like, this is kind of fun.
Right.
You know, and then I was working so many hours at the dealership. I go, well, I'll just be a realtor and I can make my own schedule, you know, and this will be
Right.
cool. And now I work more now than I did when I was selling cars. So,
But you're a natural people person too. And I
Yeah.
do, I mean, we can give, I'm probably the minority saying this, but, and I realize everybody's trainable. But I think at the end of the day, if you are good with people,
yeah,
you are going to succeed in this business.
100%.
Everything else can be teachable,
Yes.
you know, and I think you're just you're very good with people. And that's what is part of the reason you're so successful.
I appreciate that. And same with you. I mean, I can tell, like I say, when you're with your clients, I can tell when you're just the other day. In fact, how we got to this moment was you had posted that video, you know, that you did with Chris Burton, and it was just awesome. And I commented on it. I go, that's a really great video. It was very informational. It was basically a video saying what sets you apart from everybody else.
Right.
Right. And I was like jotting down notes. I'm like, okay, that was really good. What she said there, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, but Chris, he's over there. You guys can't see or hear, but there is a great guy behind all this. And I think Chris was getting a little flustered because I said, I don't do good with notes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. I got to reread this. Oh, one more second. I think by the end of the day, he's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I'm just good at just winging it because we know what we know,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And the videos are great, and I think, you know, doing more of them, and I wanted to collab with you.
Yeah.
I knew this was a direction you were going as well.
Sure.
And I think we, as realtors, we do need to let the audience know, the buyers, the sellers know what does make us different.
Absolutely.
You know, you use I think it was Marcus that had mentioned his grandfather worked for a dealership in St. Clair.
Yeah.
And the one of his clients went down the road to save $1.
Yeah.
And I got thinking about that I was like, you know what? And I was thinking, I live between two McDonald's, 23 Mile in Gratiot and 21 Mile in Gratiot.
Yeah.
And I would go, if it were $2 more for a large iced tea,
Yeah.
I would still go to 23 Mile and Gratiot, shout out to Dieter, and not just because he's a Schultz.
Yeah.
Because that store is dialed in, the customer service is, I know I'm not going to wait any longer than 1 minute
Right.
in line, and they're going to get my order correct.
Yeah.
So I am willing to in the value.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. So when people say, well, I have somebody that's going to do it for this, that, and the other, and I'm using McDonald's as example because that's what I know. Just like you guys were using the car sales. I would still go to 23 Mile and
Absolutely.
pay 20% more because it's consistent. The product and quality is amazing.
Yep.
The people are friendly. And you know what? Sometimes they even promo my drink. So I'm going to go, they've got my business, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel the same way if you're bringing the value.
I've
Then-
talked about this, not to cut you off, I apologize, but I've talked about this 1,000
No,
times.
cut me off because I've got to.
I've talked about
I
this
have.
1,000 times to people, and we talk about real estate, and I think so many agents get into this business for the wrong reasons. You know, they get into it thinking I can create my own schedule. My schedule is really flexible. I can go to work at 11 o'clock and leave by 2 o'clock. And I'm a firm believer that the more flexible your schedule is, the less money you will make. Because
Absolutely.
if your schedule is not dialed in and you don't have set things to do every day of your life, you will fill it with busy work. And some people mistake busy work with progress, and you're just not going to be successful that way. And I think for me, I got into real estate, obviously we have to make money, of course, to survive, but I got in it for the helping aspect of it. I was already helping people with the car sales. You know, I've been in sales my entire life, and I think that I was born to do sales. I think everybody, you know, was born to do something great. When you find that moment out, it's an incredible moment. But for me, selling was always
People have always said that to me.
where
too.
I wanted to be,
Sales
and
was
where
your
it was natural for me. So But for me, I think that the real truth of the matter is the reason that I got into real estate is to help someone solve a problem. I love solving problems and figuring out solutions, especially when you can see it from a different angle or a different way that the other person couldn't see it. You know, your lens may be a little different than mine. And obviously the money, it's a byproduct of what we do. We need it, of course. But really providing that luxury experience and making sure that customer is taken care of is why I got into this business. And I have literally talked more clients out of buying a house than I have into buying a property.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Just last night we saw too, and I said, I personally don't think this is the house for you. And even if it's my own listing, you know, because if you take the time to know what they want, and it's just a good feeling. The first year, I never even knew what my checks, I never even looked what my split was. To this day, I do not scroll that, you know, they're talking about they're not going to post, you know, with the NAR settlement.
Yeah.
It cannot be posted in the MLS. So I never looked anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's irrelevant, because if it's the house they want and someone happens to be paying, you know.
Absolutely.
But I feel like I'm worth it, so I will, you know, in the other terms and conditions with the offer say, no, I 3% because
Yeah. Pay me what I'm worth. Sure.
Pay me what I'm worth. And usually they do.
Yeah.
But it's never been a motivator. I never know what I've got coming in.
Sure.
But it comes in.
Absolutely.
But it comes in as a product of doing a good job.
Yeah.
And
I think your reputation is what drives your business, right? People know if they do a deal with you, it's going to be a great experience. I know one of the things that stood out to me in all the deals we've done is that you're very personable with your closing gifts. You know, you make sure that you study that client, you ask the right questions, and at closing, you're giving them a gift that's meaningful to them. You know, it's not a box with a candle in it and, you know, that you got at Target.
I see a lot of the wine with the labels on it, the Shawne Schultz. I don't even care if it's, you know, a 200. They're going to drink it and the bottle's going to get thrown away.
Yeah. Yeah. Your gifts are life-lasting. They're conversational pieces. You know, someone comes over to that client's house and says, hey, where did you get that? That's so awesome. Well, I got it from my realtor. What?
Absolutely.
You know, that
we're
just
not going to give
stands
too
out.
many nuggets away, Mark, unless they want to come and work with it. You know, then we'll drop some more nuggets.
We're going to keep this. We're going to keep this under wraps. All of our techniques.
We're not going to give away all. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that, and I know you do different too.
Yeah.
That are over and above where the clients are like, oh wow, you know. But we're gonna, you got a goodie there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going over and above what they expect.
Yeah.
And I have never had less than a 5-star review, and I would cry if I had a 4.9.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've dealt with some where it was a little challenging, but, you know, and this is hundreds of homes. I think I'm at in 5 years, I think I'm at the 160 mark.
Wow. That's incredible.
So,
that's incredible.
And it's basically what is it gonna take? What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Because I will settle for nothing less than a 5-star review.
Absolutely.
And if that takes, like even today, I am leaving here. I am going to have to change because I have to go in a client's attic. I have to stop at Home Depot and get spray foam first. And I've got to spray 2 sections where daylight's coming in per the inspector.
Yep.
And my clients, I can't get up there. I'm disabled. All right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I even know how to lay Quikrete now. And I installed a garbage disposal. I'm not kidding.
Oh, I love it.
I YouTubed it.
I love it.
So, I mean, those are the kind of things. How many agents
Absolutely.
do you know? They'd be, oh, you need to call this, contract this out. I know I can do this myself. Shoot me on up in the attic. Don't worry. I'm not going to step on the drywall.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fall through the ceiling.
Yeah.
I know how to do this through just my flips. So learning.
We're earning the money that we're getting, right? And we're earning the respect from that client that, hey, this is, now let me ask you this. I guess this is a better way of explaining this. Don't you think after going to that attic, that guy's going to refer you 5 other clients?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, and
100%.
That, you know, and that's how you build a brand, and that's how you build a business, by just taking care of people without expecting anything in return.
Nothing in return.
But the reality of the situation is he probably will send you some business just because he felt good about the experience, you know? So I think that's awesome. obviously you're having fun doing this. I can see you.
I-
I mean, I see you doing the videos. I see you doing different things. You're having fun. I mean, do you have an exit strategy? What are you thinking? You're going to do this forever? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, forever is a long time. You know, my mind, I was always telling myself, you know, I want to be done. I'll give it 15 more years.
Okay.
You know, and move to Florida, but who knows? Maybe I'll get a license in Florida, or I really want to move to Wyoming. I love mountains.
Yeah.
And property.
Yeah.
So I really haven't thought of, I'm the type of person I'll know when
Yeah.
to hang up.
Absolutely.
And, but no, I'll be around for a while.
Yeah. And I think even when you think you're going to hang it up, you'll still do something.
I'll
You'll
probably
flip.
still hold it just for my own.
Yeah. Your own flips
Whatever I'm deciding to do with properties.
Yeah.
And, but I'd like to, you know, possibly I've already almost licensed in Florida.
Okay.
Just for some time down there if I can do one or two. But I love doing it.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised that and I had an ugly day yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of up and downs, and I learned real quick, you gotta
Oh, yeah. Got to have thick skin for sure.
and move on
Yeah.
and shake it off. And I learned that real quick that
Absolutely.
something didn't go my way, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow's a new day,
Yes.
and that's you do have to have thick skin.
Yeah. I'm totally
You know,
with you.
people think it's so easy, right? And especially in 2020. Oh, I'm going to go get my license. I'm going to get my license, and they say because they think we make easy money.
Yeah.
They think it's so easy, right? But
Yeah.
I believe 85% quit in the first 2 years.
Absolutely.
So if it was such easy money
Mm-hmm.
and so lucrative, it just shows it's not for everybody, and that you really aren't that whole mind, that thought out there that we make all this money and it's just so easy. All they do is stick a sign in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The agents all go get licenses, and then they show up, and then they say, "Whoa,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moving parts here."
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of them just get overwhelmed. You know, the paperwork is the easiest part about this business. It's plug and play, right?
Right? Oh, simple. I can do it with my eyes shut.
Yeah. We talked about it the other day. You can do a purchase agreement in 5 minutes with your
5
eyes
minutes.
closed.
It's,
You know?
at a stoplight if I had to. I don't do that though.
Yeah. I have pulled over, though, in my remote office of my truck and submitted an
I
offer on
have
the side of the road
many
multiple
times.
times. Yeah.
Many times. That's the
Yeah.
easiest part of the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. But the moving parts, and I think the value of a realtor comes into play when there's a problem, right? How do you solve that problem? Because nobody really understands your value until they've already packed their stuff up. It's 3 days before closing, and you get a little notice from the title company that says we have an issue. And you go, what do we do now?
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
I
And
just
we've
had
all
one
had
with-
that.
I just had one with the judgment. Yes.
Uh-huh. And the people are going, well, what do you mean? I've already moved out. I'm ready to get my keys to my new house. You go, oh, guess what? We can't do that yet.
Right.
So that's where the value of an agent comes in, where you say, hey, you know what? And sometimes when we talked about it, we're not only an agent, we're a marriage counselor, we're therapist, hostage negotiator,
Definite therapist is on my resume.
paralegal,
Decorator, like you
Yeah.
said. I mean, it's yes.
handyman. I mean, we're all of
And
that.
jack of all trades. And I know
Yeah.
you as well know, I think you're one of the few people that understand outside of our wheelhouse. I feel like at this point I have as much knowledge as a lender. Sorry, lenders. But, even knowing things like an RD loan, the VA loan, the FHA, the 203K.
Absolutely.
That saved a deal because you may have a client looking at a house and saying, well, this is what I have for a down payment. All right, well, we're going to look at properties in rural development.
Yeah.
Well, what's rural development?
Yeah.
Well, that's a loan that's offered. It's a zero down. You're still going to have your closing costs and such. But I know you know what all those loans are.
Absolutely.
A lot of agents don't, even when they're showing my properties. Just one on 17th Avenue, I had to say, they love the house, this and that, but it wasn't going to qualify for, I know what a GFI is now. Learned that in real estate, but it was Well, they can qualify for a 203K loan
Yeah,
because she's approved up to X amount of money.
absolutely.
And the other, what's that?
Yeah.
What is that? And you know what? It closed 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, you agents like yourself, me, that take time to understand, you could probably do an inspection yourself. You won't.
No, of course.
But enough walking through
Absolutely.
to be able to tell your clients.
Yes. And that's how, again, I've quote unquote talked clients into not buying a property. I've said, hey,
Right.
listen, this is what I see with my own eyes. Certainly
Right.
have it inspected, but I can see that there's a foundation crack in the wall.
Right.
You know.
And I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you that $375.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to pay the inspector to tell you the same thing, or we can visually see there's an issue?
Exactly.
There's mold, there's an issue. So whatever the case may be,
Right.
but I think that we both do a good job with that, and really trying to save our clients the headache because we've been through it. Right, we're in more houses every day than most people will ever sell in their lifetime. In one day. I mean, there's days where I'm showing 5 to 10 houses a day, and people will sell maybe 2 to 3 houses in their entire lifetime.
Right.
So it's just a different animal. I know one thing that I wanted to talk about, and we'll see where
that smile's scaring me.
We'll see.
Take a sip of my kombucha here and bring it on. Love the brine process.
All right, so I think we have time for one last question, and that question is...
Oh, gosh.
Are you ready? When is the last time that you did something for the first time?
This podcast.
Absolutely. That's a good one. Hey.
And then I'm going to be in an attic in about 10 minutes, too. A question for you. What's the best advice you've ever had?
Interesting. I think the best advice that I've ever heard was from my dad, and he said, just have fun. And that was one of the last things that he said to me before he passed. And I hold that near and dear to my heart. And I feel like the moment that I'm no longer having fun doing this will probably be the day that I hang up my tie and my jacket and go into some shorts and some T-shirts and enjoy life.
I'm with you.
So I really
Good
appreciate
for you. I
you.
love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate
we'll have to
you
do
coming.
it again. I know I burned up all the time.
Oh, that's all right. I like it. It flows easy with you. Anybody looking for a rock star realtor, Shawne Schultz, sign him on a hand. She's your girl. She'll treat you great. Anybody listening to the podcast that learned something, that liked it, please like or subscribe.
And share.
And share. We are on all social media platforms. We are on YouTube. We are anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.
Oh, there's going to be a next one. I'm getting invited back.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Come on back.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Take care, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
What do you think, Chris?
Mark, are we putting this on Spotify?